Raza had always been fond of old things, and it was this very fascination that pushed him to buy a very old, half-abandoned house located on the outskirts of the city. The building was nearly 100 years old. Most people, while passing by, would quickly avert their eyes, almost as if some buried secret was calling out to them. But Raza would laugh at such things. Just old stories, he would say. Doors and walls make noises. Ghosts aren't real. The moment he moved in, he noticed one particular wall that looked slightly thicker than the others. There was a door right in front of it, but it seemed like it hadn't been used in ages. The door was rusted, and its handle was broken, sharp like thorns. When Raza touched it, the handle was cold as ice. He jerked his hand back and muttered, "I'll get it fixed, nothing serious." That night, when he slept in the house for the first time, he heard a faint scratching sound coming from the other side of that wall. At first, he thought it must be a cat, but then the scratching slowly began to sound like words, like someone whispering his name from the other side. Raza. Raza tried to stay calm, but his heart started pounding. The sound lasted only for a moment, and then everything went cold and silent. In the morning, Raza turned on the light and inspected the wall carefully. Fresh, nail-like marks were etched across the surface. Must be cracks from moisture, he assured himself, though a strange heaviness lingered inside him. There was someone behind that wall. Raza couldn't shake off the feeling. 2 or 3 days passed. Every night, the scratching grew louder, sometimes soft, sometimes violently sharp, like someone desperately trying to get out. One night, Raza turned on the recording app on his phone. In the morning, when he listened to it, he heard a strange, faint sobbing sound, and in between, that same whisper. "Raza, open it." His heart sank. How is this possible? The door he had never opened now consumed all his attention. Raza decided he would call a carpenter to examine it. The carpenter ran his hand across the wall and said, "This wall doesn't look real, like there's something else built behind it." Raza asked in confusion, "What do you mean?" "It might be hollow inside, or maybe an old room has been sealed off. But," the carpenter paused, "these marks? They look exactly like human nail scratches." The color drained from Raza's face. No human could be living in there. The house is 100 years old. The carpenter dropped his tools and rushed out. "Brother, I'm not staying in this house. You should leave too." Raza laughed it off, but inside, a cold silence settled. That night, the sound came again. This time, it wasn't just scratching, it was thuds. The wall felt like it was shaking. "Open!" This time, the voice had turned into a scream. Raza hid under his blanket in terror, but slowly, the banging from behind the wall seemed to travel downward until it felt like it was right beneath his bed. He swore to himself, "Tomorrow morning, I'm breaking that wall." The next day, Raza stood before the wall with a hammer, chisel, and a torch. Inside him was fear, but curiosity too. With the very first strike, the plaster crumbled to the floor. Behind it appeared a very old wooden frame. On the frame were about 10 to 12 deep nail marks, as if someone had been scratching from the inside for years. What the hell? Raza's throat went dry. When the frame finally broke and fell away, a dark, narrow, extremely old secret passage opened up. A cold gust of air blew out from within, carrying a strange smell, like echoes of ancient screams. Raza turned on his torch and peered inside. Dampness, dust, and a staircase leading down. He gathered his courage and descended. Below was a small room, more like a cell. Chains lay scattered around, broken wooden pieces, and in one corner the dirt was piled up as though someone had been digging there for years. Then Raza saw something that froze his legs in place. On the wall of the room, written in dried blood, were the words, "I am here." Suddenly there was a loud thud behind him. Raza spun around, the entrance frame above shook, and the old wooden beam started breaking apart and falling. His torch trembled in his hand. Then from the other side of the wall a whisper echoed again. "They locked me away. Now I have returned." Raza turned to run toward the stairs, but for just a moment, only a moment, he saw something standing in the corner of the room. A figure. Its eyes glowed red, and its face did not look human. Raza somehow ran upstairs into the house and sealed the wall again. His breathing was heavy. He dragged a chair and hid behind it. What was that thing, and why was it locked there? As night fell, the scratching returned, this time louder than ever, as if the thing was now close to breaking free. Raza began checking the old registry papers. The first owner of the house was a man named Haji Murad. On the back of the papers, a small note was attached. "Whoever opens this wall will set her free. She is not human. She is no longer our daughter. Something else had taken her. We survived only by sealing her behind the wall." Cold sweat trickled down Raza's face. Daughter? Possessed? Then from below came the sound of a chain. Sharank! Raza looked up. The wall had begun to crack slowly. Right before his eyes, pieces of plaster crumbled and fell off, and from within came that same voice. "I'm coming." Raza ran toward the exit, but the door wouldn't open. It felt as though the whole house had been locked from the inside. Suddenly, a violent explosion like thud echoed. The wall burst open, and from the broken wall emerged a tall, dark, contorted figure that crawled unnaturally into the center of the room. Her hair was tangled in chains, her mouth protruded like exposed bone, and her fingers were long with dagger-like nails. She was staring directly at Raza. Raza stepped back. The creature's voice echoed through the entire wall. "You freed me. Now I will take you with me." Raza screamed, "I didn't do it on purpose. But he couldn't finish his sentence. The creature moved toward him so fast that Raza's mind went blank. His legs refused to move. She stopped right in front of him, barely an inch away. Her breath was cold like ice. Her voice shifted back into a whisper. "Your screams, no one will hear them." Raza watched her nails slowly lengthen, reaching toward his chest. He couldn't scream. His throat had dried up completely. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed through the house. Raza's. Then everything fell silent. In the morning, a neighbor noticed the front door open. When they went inside, they found dust scattered in the drawing room, the wall broken apart. But Raza was nowhere to be found. Only an old blood-colored stain remained at the base of the wall. And on the freshly exposed plaster, someone had dragged a line using strands of hair, forming a message. Now there is another one behind the wall. After Raza disappeared, a whole week passed, but there was still no trace of him. The police searched the house thoroughly. They checked the space inside the wall, the hidden room below, but they didn't find a body, a clue, nothing at all. Only one thing was discovered: fresh nail marks on the wall. The police wrote in their report, "Missing, cause unknown." The house was sealed. But the story doesn't end there. 1 month later, a real estate agent listed the house on the market again at a very low price. "It's an old house, needs a bit of repair," he told people casually. Even he didn't know the real reason, or perhaps didn't want to know. A young man named Samir visited the house and instantly liked it. "A little fixing up and it'll be perfect," he said. The agent handed him the keys. That night, Samir stepped into the house for the first time. It was filled with silence, thick, heavy silence. He walked straight into the drawing room, the same room where Raza was last seen. He noticed that one section of the wall had fresh plaster. The previous owner must have repaired this, Samir thought. But then he saw something strange. Right in the center of the new plaster was a faint inward-pressed fingerprint, as if someone inside the wall had touched it. Samir bent down and brushed off the dust. Then he heard a soft scratching sound. Thunk, thunk, thunk. He turned around. "Probably a mouse," he muttered. But then he heard a voice, very faint, very cold, and undeniably human. "Let me out." Samir's face turned pale. "Who are you?" The voice came again, this time clear, unmistakable. "Samir, open the door." Samir frowned. "Door? Which door?" And at that moment, a long, black, bone-like finger began to push out from beneath the plaster, as if someone trapped inside was slowly forcing their way out. Samir stumbled backward, terrified, but the voice returned. "I am Raza. Help me." Samir's throat went dry. If this was Raza, then who was the creature that escaped earlier? Suddenly, the wall split open with a violent crack. From inside came a hollow, echoing voice. "Now it's your turn." The next day, when the agent visited the house, the door was open. The room was empty, but the wall's plaster was bulging inward again, as if someone had just been freshly shoved inside, and written on the wall in blood were the words, "I have come out. Now he is inside." The house was locked once more, awaiting its next buyer.